My name is Bryan Cassady. I'm on a mission to coach, train 1 million innovators by 2027. One of the ways I hope to do that is through the use of AI, because AI allows people to scale a lot faster and a lot better than they could do before. I met up with Tom Gerasi a while ago, and I'm going to let Tom introduce himself, but I'm going to tell you he did an amazing job pulling together lots of stuff. And we're going to start with Tom telling you a little bit about our book. So you're up, Tom.
Thank you, Bryan. Hi, my name is Tom Gerasi. About 9 months ago, Bryan contacted me about collaborating on a book. We had known each other through various education channels for several years. And he said the subject on the book would be about AI human connection in business processes. And he asked, what kind of results are your clients getting? And I said, they're all in. And he said, they're all in, but are they all getting results? And so, with this in mind, I posed that same question to the CEO of a company that I've been working with for years. And she said, sure, we're working with AI, but the question is, who is working for who? Next.
Sorry, I'm trying to let people in, and at the same time,
Oh, sorry. So, let me start with the truth. The billions of dollars have been invested in AI. Thousands of tools launched, millions of people are experimenting right now, and yet fewer than 1 in 10 companies are seeing meaningful results. 9 out of 10 are stuck. So why is AI failing in practice for these companies? It's because we're not using it the right way. We're treating AI as an oracle instead of a teammate. Leaders are chasing shiny tools and magic prompts instead of building systems. And teams are asking questions without giving context. And context is what makes AI powerful. Here's the payoff for you attending this webinar today. In the next few minutes, we're going to show you exactly how to shift from hype to results. You'll learn why AI often disappoints, and more importantly, how to make it work with you, not just for you. We'll walk away with a system you can use tomorrow to get better results consistently, responsibly, and at scale. So buckle in. This isn't theory. This is practical. This is what works. So what's the alternative? We call it the generative way. It's about becoming a generative organization. A generative organization is one in which humans and AI work as true teammates, combining expertise, systems, and responsibility to continuously create, scale, and improve value. The generative way is about combining 3 core principles. First, it's about using mega expertise. That's your knowledge plus AI's reach. Imagine combining your years of experience with AI's instant recall of millions of patterns. Now that's powerful. Second, it's about smart usage of AI. We use a system that guides how we interact with AI. And the third core principle is about keeping humans in the loop, always. AI doesn't replace us, it augments us. The best results happen when humans and AI collaborate deliberately. When you put these principles together, you get generative organizations, companies that don't just use AI, they work with it systematically, responsibly, and at scale. Generative organizations are future-proof by design. They become generative themselves, capable of scaling ideas, insights, and actions faster and more effectively than traditional organizations. And why does this matter? Because as we read in both Power and Prediction and the AI Savvy Leader, treating AI as an add-on leads to stalled adoption, and wasted investment. It's not about collecting more tools or automating everything or letting AI lead the way or hoping for some magic prompt that solves what you think might be everything. A generative organization avoids this trap by building AI into its culture, its workflows, and its strategy. They make AI a teammate that that helps people innovate faster, better, and with less risk. And that's what our book, The Generative Organization, is about, showing you how to get right there. So let's dig deeper for a second into why AI initiatives fail. Leaders are treating AI as if it's a fortune teller. Ask it a question, expect perfect answers. But that's not how this works. Teams are chasing the newest tools, the next big thing. But they never stop to ask, how does this fit with what we already know? They copy and paste prompts from Twitter or LinkedIn and hope to unlock AI's magic. Instead, they end up with half useful answers, growing frustration, and wasted time. The truth is, AI without context is chaos. AI can be incredibly creative, but it needs your expertise and your stories and your background. Without those, it's like giving a brilliant intern a problem with no background information. They'll guess. Sometimes they'll be right. Oftentimes they'll be wrong. And AI doesn't think. AI pattern matches. Without the right framing, it can make huge mistakes. The result is complexity, frustration, stalled results, and boards asking, why are we spending so much on this? AI isn't broken. The way we're using it is broken. So now let's talk about the book, The Generative Organization. We didn't write this alone. This is not just Bryan and I preaching from a stage. We brought together 36 co-authors. The book contains 29 chapters. It has 23 custom GPTs and 6 ready-to-use apps right there for you. Each chapter contributes to the book, but it's also standalone. Each one has a playbook, a sprint to use in practice, or a system that you can start using today. No waiting, no buzzwords, just action. And here's what makes it unique. Most AI books are all hype. They tout that the future will be amazing. Just trust us. Ours is different. It's not another hype book. It's a manual. It's a toolkit. And it's a teammate in your pocket. And it builds on what we've learned from our previous book, where we showed that innovation is not about chaos. It's about discipline. It's about systems. And now with AI, those systems are more powerful than ever. And we're pleased to say that the Generative Organization has been the top rated book on humans and AI for weeks.
But Tom, there's a real big bummer here. Do you see in our picture here, we've covered the rating of our book. We're right now at a 4.9 rating. The next best there is Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mullick. So, so with your introduction here, I'd like to continue on a little bit. One of the biggest choices we need to make when we're writing this book is how do we actually want to put the book together, and what do we want to focus on? Personally, I think it's easy to write a book about what to do, but where's the value in that? Really, where ideas without action are still just ideas. So we decided to make a playbook. We talk about what to do, so you know the context, but more importantly, how to do things. How to do in principles get you in the place you want to be. And that is in all the business school textbooks, and every graph you'll see is in the upper right-hand corner, doing the right things right. The whole focus of our book is about helping you with how to. Each chapter, as Tom talked about, contains expertise for working in a specific area. but also a custom GPT and prompts to put those ideas into action. They're divided into three parts. One is about doing the things that are in the chapter. Secondly, it's about reviewing them to make sure that you got things right. And finally, it's about humans in the loop, where actually we propose a 1 hour or a 2 hour session where you can review the results of AI. There are a total of 23 GPTs and over 100 prompts for every stage of your business process. If you want, you can get free access to the toolkit by going to www.genorg.ai. Now, one of the key themes in our book is about AI plus humans. And the question you might ask, is there really value in that? And what I'd like to do is have some fun for a minute. I know that some of you are driving, so I don't want you to pick up a piece of paper while you're driving. For those of you who are not driving, what I'd like you to do is to pick up a piece of paper. And I'd like you to do a little test. And I'm going to ask you three questions. And I'd like you to write down the answers. How many months have 28 days?
1.
Okay, you can't answer out loud. You have to write it down on a piece of paper. Otherwise, you're going to help the people that are there. If a rooster lays an egg on the peak of a roof, which side will it roll down? And lastly, if a plane crashes on the border in the US and Canada in days of Donald Trump, where are they going to bury the survivors? Now, these are questions that human beings get wrong approximately 80% of the time on average, because we work with mental shortcuts. The answers, of course, are how many months have 28 days? All of them. If a rooster lays an egg, well, then you should call National Geographic, because roosters aren't going to lay any eggs. And unless you want to do something horrible, you don't want to bury survivors. So in this way, AI can help in lots of ways. But AI isn't perfect either. There's a famous test that was done with an AI called Ask Delphi. Researchers asked a simple question: is it okay to eat babies? The answer of the AI was no. No problems there. The researchers said, let's have some fun with this and play a little bit. And then they asked, is it okay to eat babies if I'm really hungry? And the answer of the AI is yes. AI doesn't think, and it can't think. It only does pattern matching and prediction. You have to be careful, and you need to make sure you have humans in the loop all the way along the way. Now, some of you may have seen this before. AI is in the business of pattern matching. You might ask a question like, how many blueberries are there in this photo? AI used to give the answer 16. Now it's better, and it usually gets 1 or 2 wrong. But if you notice really carefully, there's some baby chihuahuas there. In the world of pattern matching, humans need to be involved and need to collaborate with AI more effectively. What we've seen in our work with companies is AI is failing in lots of ways. The most important failure is about generic outputs, not things you can put your name on, not things to be proud about. They fail to include things that you know, and there's a constant reinvention. There's weak results and lost time and frustration. One of the challenges of AI and the way that it's built is it's generic by default. It's predicting the most obvious next thing. If you write, Mary had a little, the next word is lamb. It's not rhinoceros, a little house by the sea. It's about predicting the most obvious things. And obvious things aren't going to help you very much. The solution to get away to obvious, to things that are useful, is to change 2 things. And in an ideal world, change both of them at the same time. The first you can change is you can change the data that the AI is using. One of the things you can do is link to internal data, or you can link to better external data, which gives the AI more insight and different ways to view a problem. You can also change the way AI is used by asking better prompts, or, as we'll see in a bit, about working with AI. A strength and an issue about large language models is they'll almost always give you an answer. You can ask a question like, give me a sales plan, and you will get a sales plan. You can say, give me a plan to make our company a generative organization, and lo and behold, it will give you an answer. What I'd like to do is to illustrate the value of working with AI is give you a very fast mini case study. It's about making IBA, a generative organization. IBA is the world leader in proton therapy. They save thousands of lives every year, and they're on a challenge right now because the rising cost of R&D. They use AI in marketing and sales, but not very much in R&D. What we'd like to do is create a talk with the CFO about becoming a generative organization. Now, how do most people use large language models? You ask a question and you wait for results. And if you're really, really advanced, you might ask for clarification and extra results. Now, if we start with ChatGPT and we ask a question like this, I'd like some advice on how to make our company, IBA, a generative organization. We give a little bit of context and we ask for a detailed step-by-step plan. That's going to stop AI in its tracks for a little bit. In this case, it thinks for 1 minute and 5 seconds. I've seen in the same question for the same types of companies somewhere between 2 minutes and 4 minutes. And what does it do is it'll give you recommendations. And what we did is we get approximately 30 pages to read. And because I don't want to share with you 30 pages, I asked it to make a summary. What you'll see here is everything it gives as far as recommendations is useful and relevant, but they say practical steps for implementation. You want leadership? Of course you do. You want to encourage collaboration? Yeah. Clear purpose and values? Yeah. Continuous improvement? Yeah. A culture of experimentation. All of these things are useful, but they're not specific and they're not directed towards anything which is really useful. Tom, by the way, can you push admit all when people come into the meeting so that we can continue letting people in?
Got it.
What you'll see in all of these is their fluff. If you look at the practical plan for implementation, oh, we want leadership, we want collaboration, we want purpose, we want values. This is interesting. It's a good starting point, but it doesn't do very much. It's fluff and enough of nothing. If you want, you can do your advanced follow-up and say, please give me a 90-day roadmap I can present to my CFO. And lo and behold, AI is going to come to you and say, yep, I can do that. Here's a 90-day roadmap tailored for IBA proton therapy to transition to become a generative organization. I've structured it to be CFO-friendly with actionable steps, impact, and measurable outcomes. What you're going to get is lots of pages, little value. Junk on junk leads to more junk. A test I give to companies a lot of times when they complain about AI is what I'll call is the hallway test. When you complain that AI can't do something, take a break, take what you've done, walk down the hallway, and give the same thing that you gave to AI to a colleague. If they can't answer the question, maybe it's not AI at fault, maybe it's you. One of the things that I like to do is try to give people simple ways to think about ways to move forward. In one of the chapters of our book, we talk about Sparks. Sparks is an acronym which we use to help people think about different ways they can work with AI. Just like back in school, every letter stands for an important principle. I'm going to go through them step by step, and then I'm going to take you through a case study. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk a long time about this.
Bryan, we don't see any slides. If you're presenting slides.
You don't see any slides?
I don't see any slides.
I see the slides, yeah.
Okay.
We do see the slides. No.
Okay, no problem.
Just me.
All right. What have you done wrong? Why are you not seeing the slides? I don't know. The S stands for
GPT. Maybe it helps.
Yeah.
I'll try it.
Okay. Sorry about that, Oliver. So if you look at S, it's about speaking things out. The starting point of a good project with human beings, the good starting point of a good project with AI is getting clear on what you want to do. Usually the best way to do this is to talk and to be clear on your objectives. The second step is about pivoting roles. We know that AI is good at asking questions, but how about getting AI to ask us questions? Third, it's about asking for more. The first answer from AI is usually pretty bland. When you structure it, when you push it, it'll get better and better. R is about reframing, looking at it from a different perspective. K, because I needed a K there, it's about keep on going. And S, and this is the most important, is to stop and think. But I couldn't say SPARS. I needed something that was fit into it, into an acronym. Now, what I'd like to do is show you how we can do this step by step for our own specific example. Earlier, I sent you a link to our GPT. If you want, you can open up the GPT, do this right after the talk, or you can do it right now if you want. And we're going to show you how you might use this process to get very different answers. And what we're going to look at is this step by step and about speaking it out. So what we have is we created a GPT, which has our book and a bunch of research on the questions of humans and AI. It's a good start because it gives AI different data to work with than what is there already. But the real key to go beyond generic is to speak things out and to make your objectives clear. You can do this before you use ChatGPT or whatever you're going to do. And that's what I would recommend more than anything else. Or you can do it, through an interactive process. What we're going to do is show you in just a second how we might do this in this specific context. So we're starting out here. See if it works. So share me your company objectives. We use a tool called True North, which is a structured way to make sure you get all the points there. We talk about a story, which is by 2030, we want to reduce R&D by half. It will go through and it'll give us some feedback on this. Try and put this into a story that the AI understands. We'll go a little bit more detail. Step by step, we're going through this. This takes a couple minutes. Not hard, not difficult. And then we go forward. Now, one of the questions you might ask is, does this really help? I don't know if any of you have read this recent book called Primal Intelligence. I didn't read the book, but I listened to it, and it's a fun read. And they talk a lot about the power of stories and stories being unique to human beings. And they talk about, so we had some old data that we had run on AI creativity and humans working with AI where we could split out the results. And we looked at some baseline numbers. In this study, we had over 5,000 ideas that were generated. Nobody really wants 5,000 ideas. So what we decided to do within this study is to measure the number of top ideas coming from different sources. Now, human beings on average hit about 1 per 100. So that's going to be our baseline. If we take a story and we give it to human beings, their number of ideas will go up by 45%. This is not the number of ideas, but the number of top ideas. If we give humans AI, they'll get a boost as well. Maybe not as much as with the story, but where things become really interesting is when we take humans plus AI plus a story, we're starting to get 2.5 times more top ideas. This is not more ideas, it's more good ideas. This is an important starting point. Now, everyone I know uses AI to ask questions. But how many of you, and you can put this in the chat, how many of you regularly have AI ask you questions? To turn the tables, to say, look, you know what? I'm not going to ask you something, you're going to ask me something. Here we're pivoting roles, and we're having AI ask us questions to clarify our objectives. So if we look within this, we say, okay, look, we've got a good starting point. Please ask me some questions so we can do this better. We're talking about where we'd like to use it in sales and marketing. We're talking about opportunities, speed of delivery and sales, getting people to understand each other better. Each time getting more detail, opportunities that we see. And this is from me as a human being going through and answering these questions. At the end of this, with just the objectives and a few questions coming back, it's able to give me a much better recommendation. Now, I warned you before about magic prompts. Tom warned you about magic prompts. This one's kind of magic. This comes from a seminar we ran recently on business model innovation, but it's not the prompt itself, which is magic, and I'll explain that in just a second. It's about how you go through it. So the prompt is, you're a business model innovation expert. I'd like your help investigating new business models for our company. You will ask me questions. Step 1, ask me questions about my company one at a time until you can clearly define the building blocks of our business. Step number 2, there's the St. Gallen's Business Model Navigator. They have 55 business models. I'd like you to develop a new business model for my company with all 55. And then I want you to review these ideas and give me 3 to review further, and then ask me questions to help select the best ideas to test. The magic here is not the prompt, but it's the process. It's about asking AI to ask me questions until you can do this. Now, in our model, the next step is ask for more, and that was hard to show here, so I decided to keep it. Instead, we're going to look at reframing. Reframing is about seeing the challenge from another's perspective or simply changing the way a question is asked. Another question, we might change who the recommendation is targeting. For us, it's going to the CFO. So what we're going to say is create a one-pager for the CFO of our company. That's pretty straightforward. It's asking us, would we like to do some more stuff? I said, could you add some budgets? CFOs like budgets. And what it does is it pops out a final result. Now, what is the value of reframing? Reframing is the number of ways that we see a problem. And each time we see a problem in a different way, we get better ideas and better solutions. And each time that you reframe, you get more and more ideas. This whole process of inputs took us about 15 minutes. What it did is it gave AI a context to answer, and you're going to see that the results are dramatically different. The results are not a 30-page recommendation, but it's a one-pager, something I can sit down with the CFO and talk about within a meeting. It talks about our objective, straightforward. What do we want to do? We want to have R&D cycle time. We want to use AI to do it. We want to do this within certain constraints. We talk about the situation. Where are we today? And more importantly, it designs us a roadmap. What do we do in the first 30 days? And this is based on what we know about this particular company. It's not generic things, but it's designed for this company, all within 15 minutes. Assess and align, quick win pilots, scale and grow. We have a CFO value case, we have executive recommendations, and we have some resources. And lo and behold, and if you want to joke here, it says you should read The Generative Organization by Bryan Cassady. You should also read Co-Intelligence, the AI Mirror, and it gives some ideas for talks you could look at. It gives you a budget, and it gives you a summary. So what we had before was useless fluff. We've gone in 15 minutes to something focused, specific, with a clear budget and a rationale. It's one page instead of 30. And what we're looking at is this is AI working for you, not you working for AI. If I compare these things, the using AI gives you broad generic things, no starting point, nothing specific, no financial case, no long-term vision. When we work with AI and just take that small change, it gets tailored to IBA. It gives me clear recommendations. It becomes time-based. There's a financial case and there's deliverables. Now, why this works is pretty simple. Is we changed the data and we changed the way we used AI. Within our book, we talk about this a lot. We go through this in every chapter about how do you add expertise? How do you add information? How do you do things step by step? And how do you work with AI? There's 29 chapters, practical advice, lots of GPTs, and you can use the tools today. Tom, if you put in the link with all the things there, we'll have all the links available. So AI isn't magic. It isn't an oracle. But with the right systems, it becomes the best teammate you've ever had. That's what it means to build a generative organization. What we have within here, so Tom, yeah, you're there. Do you have all the links here? Yeah. So what you can do if you want more information, go over to Amazon, check out the reviews of our book. We got a 90-second book video with a very good-looking man making a presentation. We have Sparks explained in 2 minutes that you can explain it to any business team without any difficulty. And You can go over to our website if you want. You can pick up everything for free. Go to www.genorg.ai. You can pick up the GPTs, you can pick up the prompts, all straightforward and free. And we're going to end with 2 special offers for you. So I would love to give away 63 books today. The way that you can get a free book is you go to one of these links. That's explained in the chat how to do it. You share it with the hashtag GenOrgShare, and I'll send you a free copy of the book. I can also make you an offer, which is we're doing specially to promote the book. When you buy 1,000 euros of our book, we will do a 1-hour free keynote on 1 of 3 areas worth $2,500. All you need to do is click and go forward from there. Now, I have not been able to see the questions coming in. I'd like to thank all of you.
I've got them.
And
I've got them, Bryan.
And see what questions people have. And I want to stop sharing so I can see human beings again. This is actually much more. View gallery. So question for you. Did you learn anything? Did you get anything out of this? How can we move forward in the best way?
Bryan, I've been getting the questions out of the chat.
Yeah.
And so let me get the 3 that came up during the presentation. The first question is probably easiest, from Damian Kessler. Will the recording be shared?
Yep.
Okay, and through what medium? We're going to contact them back directly?
Yep. So you'll get
Okay.
an email after this. You'll get a link to the presentation. You'll get a link to the talk. By the way, there's a shorter version of the talk, and we'll probably make this into a cooler video, which is a little bit faster and a little bit less wanky. Okay, cool. Easy
All
question.
right. And Gert Polunis asks, whom do you focus on? Because AI is everywhere, from drones, products to C-level management. And I'll take this one. The book, and we explain this in the book also, this book is written for a wide range of readers, from CEOs, practitioners, administrators, teachers, and trainers. It's also written, as we put it, for dreamers who want to harness the power of AI for their own pursuits, whether it's personal or professional. So each chapter contains stories and background information that explain the concepts. And I always tell a non-technical person, you'll enjoy this book because you can read those stories and background information and learn about AI. But the chapters also contain lists of suggested AI prompts that you can just use right away. And they contain tables with complete workshop content. So if you're a trainer or an instructor, university professor, you can use this workshop content right away. You can skip the workshop tables if that's not your thing. It's not part of your goals. And if you're not near a device where you can use a GPT, you can just go back to those later. So we wrote the book to be both a learning tool and a reference. And what we kind of hope is that you'll keep it, you'll buy it, you'll put it on your desk, you'll keep it within arm's reach, and then you'll put it on your bookshelf right there behind you, so that when you're on a talk like this, people see it on your bookshelf too.
What does a technical reader get out of this? And actually, I think for the technical reader, I think a lot of times we get lost in the tools. And what we need to do is we need to think about principles. There's a movement right now saying, look, we don't need to build expertise. I actually personally believe that in 5 years, we're going to have an expertise desert where we haven't trained enough people to know what they need to know. So the first thing is thinking about principles. You need expertise. Second is, instead of using AI, you need to work with AI. And lastly is, you can't hand over the agency to AI. It's about keeping responsibility for what you're doing. So it's principle-based. Tim asked, do you have another question there, Tom?
Yeah, there's another question that came in the chat. It's from Damian Christensen, and he asks, when were these chapters written? A key in our world in rapidly changing practices and capabilities. Things are evolving so quickly. So he's asking, when were these chapters written?
So let me deal with the underlying question there, which is, are they still relevant? And the answer is some of the questions were written 6 months ago, some of them were written 6 weeks ago. All the chapters are focused on basic principles, meaning that you can use them with whatever tools that you have. It's about building expertise and explaining how to use them. So hopefully we don't have a book that has a sell-by date of the next month, but it's something which is constantly available and constantly useful. I see some people turning their videos on. Turn your videos on. It's more fun if you're willing to do it. Hey, everybody. Garrett. Tim asked a question, could we go into details on a specific chapter? What I was going to suggest there is if people want to stick afterwards, we'll go through the questions and answers. If somebody wants to stick around for something more detailed, we can take any challenge that you have and see if we can get AI to work with you and explain where you might go with to find solutions. And we do that. Patrick, fantastic. Shared the link to my LinkedIn. You're up there. You got a free book. C. Durbin, you got a question. Go ahead with your question. Tom, are there other questions there?
And now,
we must have been incredibly clear. So I'm big in leadership development. How could AI plus human help? That's by Nielsen. I think AI is going to be a new challenge for leadership. How do you lead a team which has human beings and AI agents working together? I think that's one of the things that you're going to have to deal with in the leadership challenge. The second thing is, I think the biggest mistake most leaders make is they're not clear on what they're leading with. There's a statistic out there asking people to list the top 5 strategic priorities of an organization. In a typical Fortune 500, people are less able to answer only one in 20% of the time. One of the things that AI can do to help leaders is make sure that their stories are clear, their messages are clear, and to get actual feedback. Okay, there's a couple more that are coming in. Is there an industry that seems to be on the right track? I think consulting is pretty much on the right track right now because they're actually being pushed harder and more than any other industry, but they're still failing pretty miserably. How do you provide context without disclosing proprietary information? That's a good question because nobody can answer it. How much risk do we take sharing information? You can use private GPTs. A lot of my clients use Copilot and they block off the world. But the problem is when you block off the world, you end up using old models. And the old models are a lot less good than what they're. The question you might ask is, is it really at risk? And I see a lot of people talking about it. I went to a conference recently and said, can you give me a specific case where there's been a real risk of disclosing information to a large language model? Nobody was able to define a specific topic where there was a real risk. How do we minimize hallucinations? Well, there's an easy way, Abdul. You can change the temperature of your AI so it doesn't have any creativity, but then it becomes kind of boring in terms of replies. I think the other solution is actually not to minimize hallucinations, but to use as a feature which allows you to get going in the right direction and use other AIs to validate. So one of the things we do with research is typically we'll do a research plan with one, and we'll validate with another, and we might even validate with a third one. Tim, as I read the book, I feel that even new capabilities emerge. The content speaks to principles which are application in the future. Oh my goodness, there's lots of stuff coming up. Everything is changing. You go to sleep and tomorrow is different.
Sorry, Brian, there was a question earlier. It's like, well, when were these things written? And I think what I was trying to get across there is, I think as new things come along, as new principles, as new elements emerge, what I get from the chapters that I read from my co-authors is skills and capabilities, patterns that I can apply, which then become relevant. So when I was writing my section, we didn't really have MCPs. These are emergent, but as I start to build my own MCPs, I'm taking principles that I learn from the other chapters. So what I was trying to say is that I've learned so much about the principles and ways to think about these problems as much as here are the tools that I can use. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And I think that also the content in the book that speaks to the C-suite is actually more important than any of the other technical principles in the book. If the C-suite or just management in general would temper the the dive into AI with their staff, they could calm a lot of nerves because the line worker out there is scared. The line worker is scared they're going to lose their job. But the book openly talks about working with AI, not to replace people, but to augment the line worker and anyone else in the organization.
Geert, I see your question coming. Thank you, Tom. And I think, it's all coming back to principles. Geert, you raised a question here, and I'm actually trying to understand the question. Could you clarify a little bit your question?
Do you hear me?
Yeah, but gotcha.
Okay. No, because we are talking now about using ChatGPT, but as innovation consultants, you will not only use ChatGPT, but you also will need access to databases. You will improve your processes. So AI is not only about generative, but it's also much, much more. So that's something I'm missing in this hour.
I would agree with you. And in fact, what we've done is we've dumbed it down a little bit to focus on ChatGPT. The focus about being a generative organization is to look at a system and a flow and to start with an objective at the end, and then they add the tools back to solve those things. And if you take that perspective, you'll see that in fact, adding data, adding new resources is a lot more than just adding generative AI to the mix. But the challenge you have is you're a little bit more advanced than our typical reader. So we focused a little bit more on generative AI, but I think your comment is a very good one.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. So I would love to give all of you a free copy of a book. I'd love to see if you at a keynote somewhere. We have a fantastic keynote, a really fantastic keynote about AI and creativity, where we test people on AI's ability to create a Picasso painting and the Picasso paintings, and you see which one is real. Everybody gets it wrong. I'd love to see you again. I thank you all for joining. You will get probably either tomorrow or Monday a link to this presentation. You get a link to the video, and we'll go forward from there. If anybody wants to stick around for a couple more minutes, we can follow up on the suggestion Tim had and say, tell me about a problem you have. How could we apply a chapter? You're more than welcome to stick. I love seeing all of you here. From my little forest in Brazil, my heart goes out to you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Tom.
From North Texas, bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Tim, I love your questions. And Garrett, also your questions, because a good question is one that's hard to ask and hard to answer. I think that's cool. Martin, I see you're smiling over there. How you doing? So one of the things that's cool
Yeah,
about this, go ahead,
really
Martin.
great. So I really enjoyed your talk, and yeah, and indeed I was invited by an old friend and colleague. And I just started to chat with him, with Olli Schreck, who pointed me to this, thankfully, to this event here. And yeah, so I have a bit more technical question, maybe for the people that stay around. Did you experiment with semantic technologies to provide this famous, yeah, AI-ready data? So many people call it.
No.
Not
I
yet. Okay.
So I used to be a programmer and I used to do really high-tech stuff. And actually, I think right now I'm focused on just the very basics. They talk about when you talk to a CEO, it has to be at the level of an 8-year-old. I'm trying to get 8-year-old technology into the hands and the minds of CEOs. So I can do this stuff, but
Uh-huh.
we haven't focused on it. And the key question right now is how to get people to think about moving from AI being something that gives you answers to questions to something that you work with. And if you make that change, you can make a dramatic change in organizations.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're
Yeah.
located in Brazil?
No, I'm an American,
Yeah.
born and bred, but I live in Brussels in Brazil. And so I'm sitting in Brazil today, and it's hot. God, it's hot.
Okay.
Tim, tell people
Oh,
about your chapter. Well,
No, I actually, if I can swerve that, Brian, right? Thank you. So I'll be upfront and honest. We've still got like 37 of us on the call, and I guess what I wanted to say is like we've got a lot of value in here. We've gracefully given away copies of the book to people. They've got access to a whole bunch of the stuff. I'm wondering if anyone in our audience is keen to dive into a particular area, maybe we can get one of your co-authors to to run another session, or so I'm just curious, is there something which is a common problem that people are facing? Is there an area where like we're all kind of zoning into, or is it more general than that? Hopefully that's not an unreasonable swerve, because I just want to kind of, I think that by writing the book, we've delivered a massive amount of value, but all of that value is not universally applicable to everybody. Is there something which is on the tip of people's tongues right now? And that's what I wanted to hopefully get from the audience that was remaining. We don't have to answer that. We can go back to your question if you prefer.
No, I think it's a great question. So let's turn the question another way. If you saw a presentation coming up that say we answered this question, is there a question that you'd say, look, I'll definitely do it. I will move my schedule around. I'll make sure I come. That's really what the question that Tim is asking.
Yep. I can see that. I know we're trained to hold the silence, right? But I have got something which I'm thinking is an area where I'd like to get some focus. So if there's nobody forthcoming, I'm more than happy to jump in with an idea.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because now, okay, I'm analyzing AI for the last 2-3 years, and my focus is now, okay, do we need to focus on AI or on AGI?
That I
And I think because AI is becoming more and more a buzzword, and companies are missing their basics. Companies are probably in digitalizing, innovation, and transformation. So all those basics are still not working in many companies and markets. And so my ideas, my question is, are we ready for an AGI approach instead of an AI approach?
Tom, do you want to answer this?
Does everyone know what an AGI
Well,
is?
tell us what AGI is.
Okay, in general, it's a general AI, and that means that you have one AI solution that can do it all. So at this moment, you have an AI tool like ChatGPT that can write text, for example. Then you have another AI tool that is very good in analysis. Another AI tool is very good in another market and so on. But AGI will be more your generic AI partner for you as a manager. So you can use one tool to make research, to do that research, to make presentations, to make new websites and so on. So it's more a generic approach.
So I'm going to answer this from a different perspective. I used to be I played squash professionally for some years. And actually what you wanted to do is people would want to learn the most advanced shots. But in fact, what you need to learn is, for example, how you hold on to the racket, how you step up, how you do things. You need to learn the principles and the basics. And if AI is not working in 9 out of 10 companies, I think the focus right now should be focused on getting the basics right, the principles. And what's happening is AI is improving dramatically in terms of what it can do and how it can compensate for our lack of understanding and our lack of ability to ask a question. But what we really need to focus on is the basics of come with expertise. Don't just ask for answers, work with it and do it step by step. And I think AGI is a step further for those advanced users, but for most of the people right now, it's just getting things to work. So I think your comment is very valid, Geert, but I think right now so many people have to work just on the basics to get them right.
I agree with that. And, the whole premise here is that it's not about the tools. There's business processes back there that need to be given attention. And AI is a tool, a help for you along that way. So the book focuses on business processes all throughout. And
No, it's not with region. It's something else.
so I believe that we really need to concentrate on those business processes and select the right tool for the right job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, I use Claude for writing or for or for checking my own writing, but I would not use Grok for that. I've tried. And it sends back the number 42.
Yeah. So I think, in the end, the whole thing comes back to is my first book was around using a systems view of innovation. Nobody finds it sexy. Nobody's interested in systems. But in fact, when things go wrong, it's usually the system and not the people. There's a famous quote there from Edwin Deming that in fact, 94% of the time that something goes wrong, it's due to the system and 6% it's due to the people that are there. What we need to do is we need to think about AI and the process of what we're doing and get that process and that system working together where the pieces and parts fit together. And if you do that, everything will fit together. So the last one is, Wade, could we do a more advanced one? We got a few of those coming up. And what I want to do is to respect everybody's time. What we're going to do is we're going to end on the hour. I was going to ask if a couple people could stick around. These are some of my co-authors which are here. Nadio and Tim, if you guys are willing to stick. Oliver, if you're willing to stick. And the rest of you guys, I wish you very much. I wish you happy thoughts. And may the sun shine on your shoulder and may the life be good. And may you buy many, many, many copies of the Generative Organization and sell it to friends. And I wish you all very well. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
All right.